Hi guys, AdderSnake here, how's it all going? Yes and hello, welcome to Subject Sunday for the 19th of June, where this week I'm going to be talking about the bits that, probably the most important bits that I've taken from the E3 press conferences, the bits that you should know, and probably, again, the bits that are more interesting that I wanted to talk about. So, first of all, we're going to be talking about Microsoft, what they came out the door with the conference, where they slammed the door open with the new Xbox One S console. The S predominantly meaning smaller. The main thing for what they're saying is that this is a 40% smaller console than the original Xbox, which everyone knows is humongous. So the fact that it's smaller is nicer for a lot of people, it's more neat and compact. And in doing so, actually making it more compact, the inner power supply is actually integrated within the machine. So there is no horrible power brick that is just out the back, and it's a sign for sore eyes, unfortunately. So yeah, that's completely gone, that's all inside the machine, and it looks really neat. Not necessarily just the fact that it's smaller, it's actually bringing a bit of an upgrade to the actual console itself. So we are now seeing 4K high dynamic range media playback. So that is actually just on the media playback side of things that you're going to be seeing 4K. So that is things like Netflix, that is things like Blu-ray players. So actually for what it's offering, it's actually some of the cheaper Blu-ray players on the market that can offer 4K playback at the price that they're announcing it. But other than that, high dynamic range gaming. So what high dynamic range actually means in layman's terms is wider colour palette, better blacks and better whites, not necessarily sort of the greys you kind of get with LED, LCD monitors. But apart from that, controller's been slightly redesigned. You've got a new textured backing for the controller, so your hands don't necessarily slip a little bit more. But also the analog sticks are a little bit more precise to your movement. In regards to price, Microsoft announced it starting from $299. Approximately that's kind of around the £249 mark for us in the United Kingdom. And they also necessarily announced that there is a specific 2TB edition. Sorry, the $299 one, £249 is actually in regards to a 500GB hard drive. 2TB is £349 roughly. I couldn't necessarily find the equation. I'd probably imagine that's $399 or $449. And the only game that actually interested me out of their entire conference was Gears 4, which is just Gears of War 4, which I thought actually it looked amazing. I have a feeling that they're probably actually showing it through the Xbox One S console itself, because it is, the colours on it just looked that a little bit more vibrant. It looked a lot more, had a lot of depth to it necessarily. So we've seen that now the main protagonist is JD Phoenix, which is actually Marcus's son from the original trilogy. But the one bit that I kind of took out of it is that it's not the locusts that are actually the big threat anymore. It seems to be a lot more sort of different range of monsters as opposed to the locust threat from the original trilogy. But in regards to the Gears 4 announcement, they did actually talk about what is called Xbox Play Anywhere. Now, one thing I would like to clarify on this for those who may not have actually understood it 100% is that it is against digital purchases. It is not against discs. They are supposedly looking at disc purchases in the future, but I think one bit is that they can control the pricing in that regard. So if you're buying a digital title, be it on Windows 10 or be it on Xbox Live, you are going to be able to play both versions of the game on both platforms, or all the platforms necessary that I'll talk about later. So yes, Xbox Play Anywhere. I think for me, this is probably making my Xbox a little bit more redundant nowadays. Granted, I've got a relatively good PC. It's definitely not 4K ready in regards to the playback, but it is very good at playing at 1080p. Granted, I've only got a 1080p monitor. Can't really sort of sell anything more if it's 1440p really. But that seems quite interesting. Again, the only game that I actually took from that, which I thought I was quite interested in. So again, more of the software side of things, that Xbox is actually bringing out some new features to the platform. Again, it's kind of backtracking a little bit to what Xbox 360 actually managed to offer, where you can actually have background and music in the background, so that's any track. They didn't necessarily specify if it's from music streaming services like Spotify or Amazon Music, for example. I'd probably imagine it's their own, I can't remember what they call it now. I actually subscribed to it at one point off in the music store. Zune, I think it was. Yeah, maybe they might try and push that if that still exists nowadays. But other than that, Xbox Live is now offering Cortana, so your personal digital assistant actually is now within the Xbox One. I presume that is going to be updated somewhat soon. To how that works, I think you would still be needing a microphone of some sort, but now that all the Xbox consoles are now including the controller that has the headphone jack, which also doubles up as the microphone port, I think that is where you're going to be using your talkback to communicate with the console. So with doing that, you can now search for language by regions. So if you're a person who wants to actually physically speak to people within a game, for example, like yourself, I could search for a purely English-speaking lobby. Granted, being in Europe, we very often get paired with places like France, like Germany. We tend to sort of conglomerate with a lot of different languages that are spoken within Europe. So it would be nice if we ever needed to specifically speak to people, for example, like Destiny. If you're ever searching, you predominantly want to speak to people who understand the language and necessarily the sort of terminology that you're looking at. In regards to Destiny, which is quite a good thing, Xbox Live is actually implementing a looking for group program as well. So if you are trying to create a wanted ad to, I need people to help me do certain things on a certain game, I'm looking for people, I haven't got any friends online now, can someone please help me? Hopefully this curator system is going to help bring people together and hopefully get things achieved. So as well as that, Xbox is implementing clubs. Very similar to the PlayStation Network's community system, is that people can make a community, people can conglomerate, talk about something, group up, get in contact with each other effectively. As well as sort of Arena is another thing that they've announced, where I think they're making specific challenges with you and your friends. It's a bit like these timed achievements, which I don't know if they've dropped off the map for these timed achievements now, but I think that's them kind of bringing that half back. More in regards to Xbox themselves, another hardware announcement is that now you can actually create your own custom controllers. More in regards to design, it's not necessarily in regards to different types of features. I think that is still being reserved for the Elite controller itself. But if you wanted to create your own lemon yellow handset with, I don't know, purple thumbsticks, and your own gamer tag on top of that, you can create that specific controller. I think they said it's $80, so roughly for us that's going to be about £60. It's a little bit more expensive, but I suppose for the fact it's personalised, why not? It's not a bad price. Actually, this is the second game I've, but it's not necessarily something I consider as a huge game. But Gwent, the card game from The Witcher 3, is actually getting its own standalone release, which is pretty cool. I was watching my friend Richard play Gwent just against the AIs in his quest on Blood and Wine. And I think for what people were saying, it's a fun game, and to bring it to a platform where anyone can play it, excellent. And the last thing to come out of the Microsoft press conference is the fact that they have announced their next generation console. I say next generation, the main thing what they're trying to do with this, and in regards to say Windows 10, is that they're trying to break down these barriers to console generations. So basically this is a better hardware. It's not necessarily a console specific to play better games. It is going to play Xbox One games already. Don't know if it's necessarily going to play the existing ones better, but the new releases will take advantage of this better hardware. But then we're kind of splitting it into two ways, where are we not going to be able to play properly the new games on the older hardware. So a bit of controversy that they need to look into and explain a little bit better. But in regards to what this Project Scorpio is being announced as, they're announcing it with 6 teraflops of power. I believe, to give them the number, the Xbox One currently is 1.2 teraflops, and PlayStation 4 is 1.5, I believe. So this is effectively a 5 times upgrade for the Xbox One to be announced to be released in 2017. So we are going to be seeing a new hot piece of hardware that is considerably more powerful very soon. So yeah, Microsoft in a nutshell, quite good things. Not mainly in regards to the games, but a lot of features that are very welcoming. Now on to the part where my wallet is going to hurt so much. So now is the Sony conference, and as you may know, I typically tend to play on my PlayStation more often than not. But my goodness, awesome orchestra and somewhat slight awkward woman making funny noises into a microphone. But all in good faith, it was announcing the reimagining of God of War on PlayStation 4, so it is just God of War. But now being set in a different mythology, instead of it being Greek, we're now moving over to a Norse mythology. I believe they announced that they are actually setting the game in Scandinavia, which would make sense in regards to the different type of mythology. But we are now seeing a different type of Kratos. It is still the same Kratos from the original games, but we probably now are seeing him that he's more reserved and he's probably fed up with the life that he has left behind. So he doesn't want to be this angry person. He doesn't want to be revengeful. He does not want to have his revenge. We are seeing him trying to lead a normal life with his son. So maybe that's him wanting to try and be a normal person now, as opposed to a god, an immortal. So we are seeing that the game has actually shifted completely in a different perspective. It's more kind of what a lot of people are making it akin to is The Last of Us, where there is this dynamic between a more experienced person like Kratos in regards to combat and just generally more life skills, to like Joel, but as well as Kratos' son. I believe they actually announced that is his son. Very similar to Ellie from The Last of Us, that you are trying to train him, make him better, and you're actually seeing him trying to progress at becoming a better warrior. So it looks amazing. We have seen that the combat has actually moved to like the shoulder buttons, very similar to Dark Souls. And yes, I am fanboying so hard over this game. I want it now. The next thing announced was Days Gone by Sony Bend Studios, which, for another zombie game, I am relatively excited for this. I'm kind of hoping that it does hinge on a more of a co-op based combat throughout this world. And it actually seems quite interesting for what they're implementing within the game. So it's an open world survival apocalypse. It's not necessarily zombies, despite everyone kind of says it's zombies, but no one ever wants to call them zombies in anything now. I can't remember what they actually mentioned that they say they are, but it's actually somewhat dependent on sort of timing as well within this game. So if it's during the day, you are barely going to see this sort of horde of whomever these are. But anywhere sort of nighttime, they sort of thrive off the darkness, and it almost makes anything impossible to hunt in the darkness, to scavenge, and for whatever. So it seems quite interesting. They did announce that there's quite a sort of robust upgrade system, so anyone who did see the reveal, where this guy was just constantly shooting with a machine gun, there is quite a big upgrade altogether that he has done to get that ability effectively. So it seems to hinge quite around sort of building up this character in a sort of roleplay aspect. But I'm hopeful that it is co-op based and that I can play with friends. Another amazing game that was it was actually announced last year, but a bit more fledged out in regards to a gameplay trailer. Not even trailer, gameplay reveal. But Horizon Zero Dawn, which aesthetically, graphically, looks incredible. I just hope it does achieve that. They say it's relatively soon. It is coming out next year in 2017, and just generally the colours that you can see on the screen is not dull like what Killzone is by Guerrilla Games. It's colourful, it's imaginative, it's very diverse actually, from the very sort of, not necessarily basic, but the people who are living there now is very primitive, using things like crossbows. It's not high-end tech at all, but the wildlife is completely mechanicized. It's all robots, and we don't necessarily know what's necessarily happened with it. But as far as it looks to me, if anyone did play Enslaved Odyssey to the West, that kind of juxtaposition of an apocalypse but high-end technology, but also necessarily the RPG elements of what The Witcher has produced. So there is weapon wheels, there is different crafting, leveling up, and currency, and it just, yeah, hurts my wallet, but I want it sooner rather than later. Again, in regards to storytelling, which I think a game in regards to telling stories is some of the most innovative ways of actually telling a story, we are now seeing Detroit Become Human by David Cage. So it's another very similar experience to what Heavy Rain gave to us on PlayStation 3, and for what that game gave you in regards to sort of branching story options, different I don't know how many endings, I think it was about 16 different endings. In this one trailer of this one scene, they were showing you all the different types of ways that scene can specifically play out. So it's a guy holding this little girl against the edge of a building, threatening to, I think, either to throw her off or throw them both off. There's different ways that you can actually go through these dialogue options to produce different endings. So you could save the girl but kill the guy, or they both die, or everyone dies. There is many different branching dialogue options, and not necessarily dialogue options, but story branches that they can produce. So Sony had dedicated a fair bit actually to virtual reality, which with their PlayStation VR headset. The main bits that I got out of that were interesting is that they are bringing a new game called Farpoint. It's very much a first-person shooter. It seems to be exploring the planet of Mars, and I don't necessarily know where they're going, but the fact that it's just interesting, the fact that you can have a fully explorable first-person shooter in VR just is quite interesting. But as well as experiences that they seem to be releasing through bigger companies. So from Rocksteady, we were actually getting Batman Arkham VR. So you can dress up as the Batman, and come on, who doesn't want to be Batman? And that will just be an awesome experience. But as well, there is a TIE Fighter experience for Star Wars Battlefront, which, again, that seems quite cool as well. I mean, who doesn't want to be in one of those zero-G experiences to be flying around and shooting the Rebel Alliance? Oh, I probably got my Star Wars completely wrong just then. So, yeah. VR looks like a very viable option, where they announced actually 50 games are going to be ready as of release in October at the $399 price point. Bit of a controversial one probably, but a game which I think has somewhat proven that I want to have it is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. The game, from a story aspect, I think the space setting is going to be very interesting. Probably from the multiplayer aspect, I don't think that's necessarily going to be people's cup of tea, but I'm very much into different types of story narrative, and the fact that the pedigree that is within Infinity Ward at the moment, that they have taken narrative production from places like Naughty Dog, that we're hopefully going to get a really good story out of it. Well, I say really good story, it'll be a really good story for Call of Duty standards most likely, but I'll be standing to be proven wrong. I would like to see that be an amazing game, and as general COD as a FPS franchise, the gameplay is solid, and I just hope that it's not so necessarily ruined for multiplayer. But as well mentioned, buying specific packages of the Infinite Warfare, I believe they call it the Deluxe or Deluxe Plus, I think. I'm not quite sure, don't hold me to that. but where you can actually get the Modern Warfare Remastered, which they seem to be only releasing through these more premium packages with Infinite Warfare, is actually somewhat PlayStation Network exclusive, that you are going to be getting the campaign for Modern Warfare Remastered 30 days earlier than other platforms. So PlayStation is truly the place to play in regards to playing the Modern Warfare campaign sooner. They have still announced that the fact it is 10 multiplayer maps with Modern Warfare Remastered. I just hope they're not pay gating it, or the rest of the maps that we do truly love, and saying that we have to buy that for extra money. So yeah, that would suck. And for some people, they freaked out like this.
Shut the fuck up! Holy shit! It's fucking happening!
And Crash Bandicoot is returning. We are seeing Crash Bandicoot come as a remastered collection for Crash 1, Crash 2 and Crash Warped from the ground up on PlayStation 4, as well as Crash is being renounced for Skylanders Imaginators. But the fact that a really old franchise like Crash is coming back is proving to things, I suppose, somewhere like where Ratchet & Clank has mentioned that they are the most recent release on PlayStation 4 is the fastest selling franchise within the Insomniac range, that they can trust in these older franchises to come back and do really well. And probably the more amazing part, that the fact that he kind of just stuck a middle finger up to Konami, Kojima is back.
Hello everyone, I'm back.
And yes, he was announcing what he's necessarily doing with PlayStation, where he's got this PlayStation exclusive game called Death Stranding, and it's another collaboration with Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. And as far as that is concerned, we just see these dead crabs, dead crustaceans on a black sand beach, where we have naked Reedus on the beach with a somewhat technological umbilical cord between him and this infant baby, which he kind of holds it and has a very emotional moment with it, and it just disappears, and it's like that his mind is just being warped and controlled, and he's not quite sure necessarily what is his probably grasp on reality, I would imagine. But there is a very symbolic shot where Reedus is standing to the end of the coast, looking out on the sea, where there is these 5 sentinels, I would like to call them, floating above in the sky, very small. I don't know if they're necessarily Ludens, the announced character where it's got the skeleton within his whole mechanized suit, or maybe that is Norman Reedus and that is him exploring different realms. But supposedly for what Death Stranding is trying to be is a true action game, so something of akin to like Uncharted in the way it's sort of exploring a more open playing field, and it's very symbolic. So the last game, and the bit that again made my pocket hurt that little bit more, is that Insomniac Games, who have created Ratchet and Clank, the Resistance series, they did Sunset Overdrive on Xbox One, are releasing and creating a Spider-Man game truly for the PlayStation 4 format. And if anyone knows, they're very few and far between good Spider-Man games. I believe Spider-Man 3 I played on PlayStation 2 was very good. I'm not very well acquainted with the Spider-Man franchise in regards to the games, but it's been put into the right hands for a developer to create this kind of game. There's supposedly rumours leading up that it's actually going to be Sucker Punch to people who created Infamous, so again kind of a superhero power, well created actually within the franchise, might be held quite well within that company. But no, Insomniac Games from a storytelling aspect I think is a good choice, but as well mechanically they've made their games mechanically robust, so yeah, exciting. It's a completely standalone Spider-Man story. It's not any relevance to any of the films, the new Tom Holland character, any of the older characters that were in the film franchise. It's completely standalone and it's on PlayStation 4, and it looks incredible. So that was what I've taken from E3 this year, and the bits that have excited me the most. I hope you enjoyed this as a longer video. Don't forget to like the video, greatly appreciate it, and thanks for watching, and I shall see you all later. Take care.